At Room to Room, there's no need to wait. Black Friday deals are going on now.
Get 36-month special financing, and we're paying your sales tax now at Room to Room. You don't want to miss it.
Room to Room Tupelo, where we know there's no place like your home.
Get the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, welcome in Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for joining us on an evening where we're going to be talking about some storm chances overnight and potentially some severe weather. Confidence is not high, but it is higher than it was last week when we tracked some thunderstorms, as there's, at least for some of us, a greater likelihood to have enough moisture in place that we could deal with a few rotating thunderstorms. This storm system's already produced some tornadoes back in Texas. We'll talk about where that lines up with what's coming toward us and whether or not that's something we end up dealing with. But I'll be crystal clear here. This is not a high confidence tornado situation at all, but a brief tornado spin up cannot be completely ruled out. We'll time out where and when here in a couple of moments. A few strong wind gusts also possible, perhaps some hail, but that's probably more the exception to the rule. And then some flooding rainfall, again, not impossible. So luckily, this is not a high confidence severe weather event. But again, some rotating thunderstorms are going to be possible overnight. And there's at least some threat that does extend into tomorrow. And the thing is I think fuel for thunderstorms will be more significant on your Tuesday. And that could then have an impact on how strong those thunderstorms are. An updated look at that versus what we were looking at with that individual storm rotation coming up here in a couple of minutes. And Thanksgiving travel as well as Egg Bowl forecast, we have those coming up here in just a few minutes as well. But here's our severe weather risk this evening. And while this says Monday, the timing on this is late tonight toward dawn tomorrow morning. That's really kind of probably our peak time frame is going to be very, very deep past midnight tonight. So don't at all be shocked if you get one of those weather calls or the alerts come on the app overnight, especially for locations, southern portion of the area. And we start talking about the tornado potential. That's where I think there's a greater chance down there. Damaging wind threat as well. But this does extend as far north as, Oxford or Amory. It's probably our most widespread threat. And that is not a widespread threat. Let's be clear. A very limited number of reports likely. That's what this graphic shows. There's certainly a greater concentration of reports likely to be down south. Notice we do trim on the north side of this because we're waiting on moisture return from the Gulf of Mexico. We'll look at that warm sector and how that plays into this here in a couple of minutes. And then as we go kind of on the wider shot here, we do show again back there toward Meridian and then stretching toward Jackson and all the way down toward Nacogdoches. That's where, again, this is most likely for locations to the south. So we look at, again, some of these reports, those red circles back in Texas, that was at least one confirmed tornado touchdown related to this. But just, draw a straight line on this over, right? First off, that is not close to, say, the southwest portion of our area, 300 miles. But if you were to go straight to the east on that, that's heading more toward New Orleans. The most impressive low-level moisture is going to be down here closer to the coast, and that hopefully acts as a limiting factor for our area as well as we clear that off on there. As far as hail goes, from time to time we have had some hail potential out of this evening, but as you can see, we do have a tornado watch. Again, that greater likelihood. This in effect until 7 p.m., and it's possible that one could be needed to be extended farther to the east. But I'll be honest, again, this is not a high-level tornado threat. It's just not impossible to get the rotating storms into our area. So I mentioned the hail threat a minute ago. Some down there with that storm that moved into the Houston area, that severe storm. But if we look for those tracks, we see the grays, yellows, and reds. I don't see a whole lot out of this. So again, True Shield grouping helping us with that hail threat, but not expecting this to be a significant threat in our area anytime soon, but not impossible. So looking at the latest here, Mississippi Live Weather Radar, this shield of rainfall that we're looking at here is just moderate rainfall at most. We don't have a whole lot of lightning strikes with this at all. In fact, if I kind of bring it in closer here, I'd say most of our lightning strikes probably with this batch we see back west here, right? Where we're starting to get more convection, these more individual thunderstorms by themselves. That's more the zone where, again, there's going to be some spots that are kind of more primed for that kind of activity versus what we have farther north. It's just kind of this shield of moderate rainfall. So if you do have some concerns with moderate rainfall, this will continue building in as we go into and through this evening. as well, as it kind of passes kind of from southwest to northeast through. But this is just, again, moderate rainfall. That is it. So as we look over the course of the next 12, again, the next few hours, we don't have a whole lot of concern with what we have out there. It's probably after midnight, maybe this 1 o'clock in the morning time frame, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'd say it's most likely. That's not to say we couldn't have a couple stronger thunderstorms at 10 p.m. It's just a lot less likely by that point in time. And because of the overnight arrival with this, that's why we always talk about weather call, that alert that could honestly save your life when we start talking about severe weather and overnight. You could sign up at the link below me here. It's what I have for my family, what we have to keep all of our folks safe. And so it does come with a cost, but it will call you back if tornadoes are confirmed. It'll make sure you wake up, because I'm able to ignore Gabe Maynard's text messages about Adrian. Make sure that's pulled up behind the scenes there on that computer on the BAM, if you could there, so we can make sure we can pull him up when the time comes. But it's a lot harder to ignore a phone call. It goes off, it makes a larger noise, and it can't connect unless it gets through. So ultimately, if you have your Do Not Disturb on, make sure that weather call number is in your favorites list, and that way we can make sure that you get that alert. And appreciate all the folks with that weather call that helped to make that happen. I want to bring in our meteorologist Gabe Maynard here as we're looking at kind of the part of the setup here. One of the important parts, obviously, is that warm sector. It's kind of the northern cutoff, or southern cutoff, but it's the cutoff between where we have the most significant threat, right?
Exactly, because it all relies on where is the moisture. Just this time of year, it's a very dry pattern that we're under. And so as this warm front lifts a little bit more towards the north, that's where that instability and that warmer air starts to surge in. And that, of course, rises those dew points in the process. So that's why we have that tornado watch down there in southeastern Texas, is primarily because this is the warmest area that we're watching. Of course, Matt will talk about that in just a moment. What we're getting right now, we mentioned it at the 5 o'clock hour, that stratiform precipitation, basically meaning uniform distribution, no lift in those clouds. It's just going to be a nice blanket of rainfall. That's what we'll continue to see even towards the 5, 6, and 7 o'clock hour as we head off into the rest of our evening plans. So make sure to have that rain gear ready, but not really expecting any inclement weather for the time being. Now, as we track this out, you can see that warm front does start to lift a little bit more towards the north. Now, this is around 10 o'clock on your Monday evening, and as that lifts towards the north, Futurecast has it positioned along the Tennessee state line. I think that's a little bit of a faster mover than what I originally thought before. But if we push that even a little bit more south, that cutoff, Yazoo City, not out of the question reaching your area. Holmes County, out there towards Sunflower County, could very well be in that warm sector already. So 10 p.m., the potential for a few strong storms, definitely a realistic possibility, but really pushing into those overnight hours is where that warm sector starts to build just a bit more. And by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, you're going to hear several rumbles of thunder as those storms work their way on through. This, of course, that leading batch of thunderstorms that will start to be produced, this having a little bit more of a northern movement to it. As we push more into those morning hours, a lot of that east, or should I say west to east storms start to surge into the area, and that's going to be associated with this cold front, giving us the potential by 6 a.m. on your Tuesday to have even more, possibly more severe thunderstorms in that process. So we're watching that initial batch overnight, but then that leading edge starting to develop by early tomorrow morning. And I know Matt will touch base on this here in just a moment with some of those rotating cells, but we're talking right along Highway 45 by 9 a.m. as that cold front surges more into the area. So Matt, this is definitely a system that we need to be paying attention to for multiple threats. And you mentioned weather call. That's that first layer of protection to have whenever severe weather does strike. So we need to make sure to have those layers of protection, have ways of staying informed, have ways to wake us up. Because if you look, the next 24, those highest rain chances going to be happening during those overnight hours and towards tomorrow morning. I know a lot of us on Thanksgiving break right now wanting to sleep in. Hey, I want those hours of sleep as well. But unfortunately, tomorrow morning, we do need to be alert. We do need to be aware. And one of the best ways to do that is weather call, the Mississippi Live Weather app, NOAA Weather Radio, just anything you can do to wake you up in the process and keep you guys informed as severe weather starts to roll in. So keeping things tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center, we're going to look in more detail coming up on those the Egg Bowl forecast, Thanksgiving forecast, but we're really going to talk storm rotation. That, of course, going to be provided with Futurecast. Getting a more in-depth look, our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lopon, will track that out for us coming up live from the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
People tell me how lucky my daughter is to have been adopted. But really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center.
Hey, meteorologist Matt Lawpon here, and we are looking at dark conditions, but nothing particularly rough looking out there in the Tupelo area at this time. Appreciate y'all for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6:61. The temperature, that measure of moisture, remains very low. So I think Tupelo, it'd be a real struggle to get storms that are strong to severe this far north, at least not until tomorrow. Some questions as to exactly how that will end up, how much moisture will get up here that we will answer for you here in a couple of minutes. But a spot that we are going to probably have to watch, where we will probably, even before tomorrow morning, have a few stronger thunderstorms, is down in Kosciuszko. 64 the temperature. The dew point is a lot lower there, but it is coming up somewhat more, and that'll be one of those spots where we're waiting to see more moisture starting to return. We are in that shield of rainfall back out here in the Delta at this time. We show Greenville at 57, though just kind of a hazy sort of look there at ground level. I'm going to come up here and check out Batesville here for a moment while we're at it, because when we show you radar here in a second, yeah, it looks like that. It looks like we have a little bit more rainfall. You can actually kind of see it behind me there. But this is cool rain. This is not warm. This does not feel like storm weather, right? It's 55, but we're waiting on that moisture coming back from the Gulf, and that's one of the factors for that. Back here to the latest scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Got what looks like bright banding on this there, which is something to say that there's probably some ice up there in the clouds that's kind of reflecting back. It's just a pretty heavy looking as far as that's concerned from kind of all different directions there. But this overall shield of rainfall kind of working its way toward the east. Let's get kind of a speed on the movement of some of these there, showing that better part about 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. So clear that off. And again, this is just rainfall. This is nothing beyond just moderate rainfall at this time. But so just kind of prepping ahead. Hey, when does the, rain start to get here? Tracking that about 30, 36, we'll just say. And let's extend that all the way to the Alabama state line. And we'll kind of change the cities there for a moment. Pop that on. There we go. And take that length to about 60 miles, we'll say. There we go. Well, got to go a little farther. 90 miles. There we go. Took care of that. Okay, so just some general time. This is just rain. This is not severe. That comes later tonight, and we will look at that here in a moment. But again, the general rain there spreading through Eupora pretty much as we speak. Myrtle, 633. Blue Mountain by about 641. Houston, 639 there. Ripley, about 648. Pontotoc, 657. Faulkner, about 650. Ecru, 701. New Albany, about 705. Tupelo, somewhere around 715. And Aberdeen there close to about 729. If you give me a moment, I'll see if I can pop down my list here a little farther so that we can get a few other cities on that list. And there we go. Smithville, about 740. Say closer to around 8 o'clock for Burnsville there. Belmont, about 809. Tishmingo, about 818. Iuka, about 828. This is just rainfall, but it's kind of the first sign that things, and there'll be some sprinkles and showers running ahead of this, but first sign things are starting to change just a little bit there. So let's go ahead and wind this back out here, and let's start talking about the players. And again, we have that active weather with this coming in from the west. Let's look at Futurecast. We're going to look at a couple different ways which we play this out. First off, on this shot here, you can see our front. As Gabe talked about, south of this front, there's a lot more unstable air. And you can just see there's a plain difference. This just looks more jagged, right? Versus what we have up north that looks kind of more connected. That's one of the signs that you have kind of all the things that play more into the severe weather potential down here in this southern portion, right? And we have moisture coming right off of the Gulf of Mexico that's going to kind of feed into this. So as we bring this now up here to the northeast part of the state, And watch this. South of this boundary, south of this front, we'll have more rotation, some of these thunderstorms. And we'll look specifically at storm rotation in a minute, but I wanted to walk you in depth through the heaviest portion of this, just mainly rainfall as we look toward 10 p.m. And again, this is a different version, a different look at a futurecast versus what we had for you at 5 o'clock. We get the updates every hour on this, and there are slight adjustments as a result. So most of what I see here, this is still, I'd say, non-severe as of 11:30. I'm going to slide this slightly wider. I'm going to put the Tennessee state line right at the top. And so then we show, again, some of the more moderate rainfall with this. But again, I would say below severe limits still at that time. By midnight to 1 o'clock, this is the part of the line we're going to have to watch. Vicksburg back there toward Yazoo City. I don't have as much showing up in front as what we showed you at 5 o'clock. So that is a good sign. But still, a few of these thunderstorms trying to merge in. Not an impossibility to get one or two of these that has rotation with them. So I would say still a pretty limited threat for severe weather, tornadoes overnight, but still maybe one or two of these. It's a ways behind that storm in Forest there, the one closer to Yazoo City. But this is why we have that severe weather risk that does encompass locations around the Golden Triangle back toward the west on kind of that level 1 risk there with a slightly greater risk farther south. So this still kind of rotating thunderstorms, 4 a.m. there, Forest, back out here toward Canton. I'm not overly impressed, but I can't rule against it, right? To maybe get one or two of these to show some signs of rotation. But this is not a severe weather outbreak. This is a maybe briefly spin up tornado scenario based on kind of what I'm looking at here, even into early tomorrow morning. So let's look at storm rotation specifically on Futurecast here. And so as this brings it in, let's talk about what we're looking at, because this is a little different way than the way we've shown it in the past. What I have here is the colors in the background there represent the storms. And I have kind of the lines going around, what we call ISO lines, for just the intensity level, so I can capture the most intense cores. But what we're looking for is we're looking for these stripes of red that go over top of those. Those stripes of red, those are where we see some storm rotation. So from midnight, there is this zone from even Oxford back southwest toward Greenville where we show some of that. And you'll note here, it's like, well, we're getting this storm rotation up the Water Valley. Again, that's why you're in that non-zero tornado threat. But I think by this far north, especially with the marginal amounts of moisture we have right now, I think that's one of the things that hopefully ends up being a limiting factor on this. We will see, but what we don't have is we don't have any of the brighter stripes showing up on this. Okay, so now we're showing 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't really have a lot of individual activity running ahead. That's a good sign. Even toward around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I really don't have a lot that I'm overly concerned with there. I mean, these would be the storms down south here I'd be most concerned, and they're rather unimpressive until we get closer to dawn. And that's really kind of one of the questions. You're going to see a couple different versions of Futurecast here in a moment. But one of the real questions is how much of this, I mean, look at that. Okay, so see how, wait, all of a sudden we have this bright red by 7 a.m. What's going on? That's when that fuel from the Gulf that's just way south is going to start getting up here. And so that's one of the reasons I'm much more interested in how tomorrow morning and really beyond 7, 8 o'clock in the morning starts playing out through midday. I will say this, anytime you have this big blob like this, and you don't have individual stripes right by themselves, typically that's more wind. But it also outlines an area to definitely watch for the first part tomorrow, a sign that the atmosphere is trying to get more structured to perhaps get a little uppity with us and try to produce a rotating storm or two out there. So let's look at storm rotation on a different version. This is going to be a slightly lower resolution time-wise, but what you'll note here is it does have some of those individual thunderstorms trying to regenerate and possibly form kind of a line out here by 1 p.m. for tomorrow, stretching from Huntsville back out closer to Aliceville and Louisville. So all indications are that we will see a redevelopment of some thunderstorms tomorrow, midday into early afternoon. Is everything in place for this to be tornadoes? Things are a little bit out of sync, but I would say that the moisture is more prevalent, and perhaps that could help a couple of discrete storms to get a little stronger. But we don't have, again, the shear here showing up super strong, and again, that working its way out into Alabama, deeper into Alabama, central Alabama, as we head toward tomorrow in the late afternoon. So let's look at, again, slightly different version of Futurecast here with that front moving in, still showing the isolated showers, 8 o'clock in the morning or so. These, not the rotating type based on kind of the latest on what we're looking at here for the most part, but then it's just this batch there, we have those individual storms. That's where we have to watch 11 a.m. toward noontime for a few of these to possibly strengthen enough to try to, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to have a tornado watch, but I think, if we're talking about significant tornadoes, we'll see. That moisture's coming up for this zone there. That's something Gabe will talk a little bit more about here coming up in a minute as well. But as that kind of slides eastward, that's taking the majority of the severe weather threat out of here. And then behind this, much, much drier air as we roll into this Thanksgiving holiday forecast. So for tomorrow, the severe weather risk, as you can see, south here of a Greenwood to Grenada to Bruce to Tupelo line in particular, and the enhanced areas because of the tornado threat. So if I were expecting an adjustment to this, and I do think that, that one might be necessary, you could argue that this level 2 risk might need to come back a little farther north and west when they reissue the new one later on tonight. We'll see how they play that out, but I would make an argument, you can argue, that this might have to be increased just a little bit more for more of our spots for early tomorrow, just because I think there's a little more moisture to work off of there. That's your tornado risk. This is your damaging wind risk, which I would say they're probably pretty on target as far as that is concerned. And large hail, similar locations there. So high temperatures for tomorrow. This is the beginning of the cool as we're 68 in South Haven, 70 Senatobia, Holly Springs, 71 in Oxford, 74 Houston, 75 degrees in Columbus. Normal this time of year is 61. And as you can see, that puts us only a few degrees away from that record set back in 2010. Tupelo Regional Airport there at 78 degrees. So yeah, close-ish to a record. That's how warm we are. And then behind this, much cooler air, few sprinkles. The funny thing about this is one of those scenarios where this might actually aloft start off as a flake or two, but melt way before it gets to the surface here. Kind of a cold cloud process as far as that's concerned. And then we're watching that drier air spill in and make for a much chillier forecast by early Wednesday morning. Wednesday's low temperatures were 43 Holly Springs and New Albany. That's versus the low 60s tomorrow morning for most spots. So a big, big change there. Again, normal's 39, so we're getting a little bit closer to that, obviously. And then the wind chill factor, definitely in the colder category, upper 30s to mid 40s for early Wednesday morning. Then as we go through Wednesday and that drier and cooler air settles in, and looking like we're going to probably be talking about a good travel forecast, not just here, but across the entire region, as we are dry and clear for the day before Thanksgiving, for your Thanksgiving holiday. And as we look toward your Black Friday, Egg Bowl Friday, however you want to look at that one there. So look at the very latest on that coming up here in a couple of minutes. And so high temperatures, expecting those to be in the upper 50s to maybe low 60s. And that is pretty much right on where we expect to be for this time of the year, maybe just a little bit cooler than that for Wednesday. So obviously a dramatic shift from the near record highs for tomorrow down to obviously normal to below normal temperatures by Wednesday as we bring in that drier and cooler air. So your SEC football forecast, it's really only one forecast here that we're interested in at this point, and that is the Egg Bowl presented by Carl Hogan Toyota. 45 degrees first play for that one. We're 48 by halftime and 48 by the final snap. And what is hidden here is the wind chill factor. It will feel a lot colder than this. So if you go out, 45 sounds cold enough, especially compared to where we've been the last few games we've had. But that wind, even only 5 miles per hour, is going to probably make that feel like it's 30s at the first play of that one. So bundle the kids, bundle yourselves up. You'll definitely need it, but at least we're not talking about rainfall or anything along those lines related to this. The meteorologist Gabe Maynard's been blowing my phone up here for a second. You in Chroma, Gabe? If you're over there, or you're at the BAM, let's go ahead and go back to the monitor for a second. Okay, what you got going on here? Because I want to try to get through the rest of this. You mentioned updated risk areas. Talk to me.
Yeah, so National Weather Service in Jackson has just corresponded with the Storm Prediction Center, and they have issued a level 2 risk, expanding it slightly more east into I-55 for today. And then tomorrow's risk looking slightly different as well. I'm curious to see it with the map outline that we do have. So there you're getting Mondays extending further into Winston County, or not Winston County, just below that. I believe that's Leake County, if I remember correctly, right?
So out there toward Meridian and Philadelphia. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that's... I was going to say, still the focus is down south, and that's a good thing with this risk area. But they were talking about, and they used a specific wording right here down in Jackson that said there could also be discrete supercell development potential, a touch earlier of the fourth squall line being the cold front that could have all modes of severe weather possible in these severe storms. So meaning that we could have all three, from wind to hail to the possibility of a brief tornado as well. And their time frame is anywhere from midnight to 1 a.m. for the Golden Triangle area, and so that's where we're kind of watching for. But again, that's in that level 1 threat.
That's part of the AFD. You're talking Jackson here?
Yes, Jackson.
Okay, was it where'd they put that?
Just recently in the on Slack.
Okay, I will check because I'm showing the most recent at 6:12.
Yeah, the 6:12 one.
Okay, yeah. So this is the updated area that we've been showing it.
Sweet. Okay.
Because the AFD doesn't have the risk area in it.
I gotcha. Well, they also just issued their wording as well, talking about all three forms of severe weather, as well as the time frame, talking about midnight to about 5 a.m. for folks in the Golden Triangle area. So it reinforces our statement of this is going to be an overnight threat rather than it being right now in the evening. So folks, weather call, having the Mississippi Live Weather app, have those layers of protection, because we want you to sleep tonight, because we know Thanksgiving is a busy holiday, but we want you guys to stay safe as well.
Absolutely. You mentioned those different layers of protection there. One of the ways in which we describe that is building your armor to make sure that you have the very latest as far as that's concerned. So Weather Call, the Mississippi Live Weather app, Code Red, the NOAA Weather Radio, be thinking multiple options there so that if something does happen, it will wake you up and get you out of your sleep and get you on to where you need to go as far as that's concerned. Again, Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available for all of those different devices. So you can pick that up there. Give me a moment. I'm going to go back here and we're going to look at the fuel as far as this is concerned, because this is I think one of the factors that's important. It shows the fuel not necessarily getting here until early tomorrow. We talked about this a little bit ago, and we'll discuss this more with Gabe as kind of break down a few things, including that Thanksgiving travel here in a couple of minutes. But yeah, you can see the fuel definitely doesn't get up and more impressive until we get closer to, say, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. It definitely gets more impressive even toward midday. So that's part of the reason why that severe risk area, we're seeing that adjustment, and certainly have seen that increase for locations back to the south and east of us on this. So we'll continue to watch that potential, but that's one of the reasons why we think tomorrow is something that we definitely need to pay close attention to as well. To bring back here in the Room to Room Weather Center, let's go hour by hour at that forecast for tomorrow again as we look at your 7-day forecast here. And we show in the morning, that's when we'll have the most widespread rainfall, including thunderstorms that will probably mess up your morning commute in a lot of occasions. We're 71 degrees by noontime, 68 by 5 p.m. for tomorrow. As that drier and cooler air comes in by 10 p.m., we're 57. Yeah, we show in the low temperature of 58. Technically, that's morning low. Tells you our coolest temperature will be tomorrow evening as that cooler and drier air moves into the area. And it's a lot cooler as you look toward Wednesday there. We're 56 for that high temperature Wednesday, 32 for the low early Thursday morning. So obviously back to freezing territory for a while. 52 though for Thursday, your Thanksgiving day in the afternoon. In a lot of ways, it's really a pretty day for Thanksgiving. And for your Friday, cooler. Okay, pretty might be over-exaggerating. At least it's clear. It's going to be breezy and cool, and, we can have thoughts on whether or not that's pretty. It's definitely probably keep you inside for that afternoon nap. Not a bad idea there. And then as we head into the weekend, rain chances start coming back as we look toward the first part of next week. Low 60s on the way Sunday and Monday of next week, but obviously huge drop between Tuesday and Wednesday, associated with that front that's kind of coming into the area. Okay, coming up here in 60 seconds, we're talking again with our meteorologist Gabe Maynor on the very latest towards some of that Thanksgiving travel and some of the nitty-gritty on how this will work. This is where we kind of dig into all the other stuff. Coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues right after this.
It's Friday night y estamos activos. Head out early. Drinks flowing to 11.
No sé qué pasó. I didn't even drink that much.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills. Next.
Security attack.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Well,
we are up and running. Okay, apologies for that. Click something behind the scenes. That is my apologies right there. We're getting a live look there in Vicksburg with our North Mississippi storm chaser Adrian in the Vicksburg area. And as you can see, a dark night for sure. A little bit of that cloud cover in the area continuing to be in place. But yeah, I mean, definitely keeping eyes down there in Vicksburg, a little bit more of a primed environment. So we do expect that to be an area of more concern than what we're getting here in North Mississippi. And of course, Adrian keeping eyes on the sky, hopefully getting in touch with him here shortly. And hopefully we see some calm weather down there because we want to avoid that severe weather potential. But Matt, this is definitely an area of more concern than what exactly we have here in North Mississippi, thankfully, but also we want to send prayers down that way because we don't want anyone to be impacted by this inclement weather.
Okay, let's talk here a second. So we were talking back and forth in the commercial break trying to communicate on this. You mentioned something that I need some clarification on where you got this from. So you mentioned that Code Red is having some issues due to a cyber attack. What's this about?
So North Mississippi Storm Chasers actually keeping us posted on this. They sent us a message saying that Code Red is down due to a cyber attack. So one of our layers of protection is down. So does that basically ups the importance of the other one?
Like, did any information on how long it's been down, when it might come back up?
I did not get the information on that. I haven't been able to research it yet. Justin Mills is in the chat, and he might be able to have more information for us. That, you know, if you guys have any information on that, go ahead and put it down in the chat so we can stay informed. But we do know it is down for right now. I have no idea on how long it will be down for, but that's one of those layers that are gone, upping the importance of the other layers, one of those being Weather Call, one of those being the Mississippi Live Weather app. Go ahead and have those ready because whenever one goes down, we want to make sure to have the others to stay informed for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna look at the Thanksgiving forecast here for a second. What I want you to do is I want you to get on the Google machine and see if we can find out more information about that Code Red situation, because that's obviously that's an important layer. But I just want to make sure that we're 100% on that there. So I appreciate that. I'm going to bring it back over here for a moment. And oops, I did half it. Now click on, bring it on back here. And let's look back at that forecast again, the hour by hour for Thanksgiving, because we know it's a big holiday and we know that folks are likely going to be doing a little bit of traveling. And maybe that traveling is just to grandma's house around the corner here. But luckily the forecast is looking pretty good for Thanksgiving Day. We're looking at 41 that morning temperature, 49 by noon, and as you see, keeping it upper 40s toward the afternoon. But listen, yes, it's cold. Cold is manageable. It's not wet. It's not stormy. It's not rainy. It's not just here. It's nowhere in the region are we any of those things, thankfully. I think we are dry and pretty clear region-wide related to this, thankfully. So I think that's at least, you know, positive sign there as well. I'm going to retreat back up here in my show and pull up one of the graphics we typically would show for that, as we'll kind of go through your Thanksgiving forecast. And I'll even get you the morning lows, which will be kind of chilly. And I don't know if that's something you're going to want to see, but let's show it anyway, right? So let's look at that extended there. So again, starting Wednesday night here, we are dry and clear, helping us to get fairly cold. One of the big stories on the wider shot here is high pressure kind of from the west. That builds in, keeps us, you know, with completely dry conditions. And obviously that's what, I mean, if you look for any kind of precipitation, you've got to go all the way up there to practically Charlotte, almost 500 miles away to see a little bit of wintry stuff, or then all the way back out there to 1,100 miles away to get closer to Denver, Colorado before you have something out that direction. So in either case, we're in pretty good shape. But low temperatures will absolutely be cold. And you saw with all those dots moving in, it's going to feel chilly with lows expected to be down into the low 30s, back below the freezing point for really all locations for early morning on your Thursday. The Delta, a few spots where we're not quite as cold. Now, hold on. I skipped it. Give me a moment here to stop this and get that wind chill, because that was the one I was looking forward to out of the two. So wind chill is expected to be in the 20s for early Thursday morning. A factor that, again, probably be the case again for early Friday morning as well. So wind chills, not particularly pleasant, but that's not something that should be terribly shocking, considering this is what we expect for this time of year, despite the fact it's not what we've had. And so depending on where you're going on around the region, pretty much same forecast again for your Thursday. High pressure, trying to calm those winds down somewhat, but we're still on the side of it where we're bringing in, again, those northwest winds and continue to kind of keep them somewhat breezy through your Thursday. But even on this wide shot here, I'm going to run out of model data out to the east before I show any precipitation. Got to go all the way north up there to locations toward the Great Lakes. Some lake effect snow there. And that's a direction that'll even keep the flights in and out of Chicago in pretty good shape on your Thanksgiving holiday as well. So luckily, Mother Nature not really interfering in that to a large extent. Okay, I'm going to bring our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, here back as he's kind of watching things back there. I don't know why that camera shot keeps changing. We're definitely going to have to figure out which shot I have in there. It's trying to cut off your height every time.
There's a height limit, Matt. There's a height limit.
I'm trying to make sure that everyone knows I'm taller than you, which is not true. Okay, so tell me about Code Red here. What do we got?
So Code Red had a cyber attack back on November 10th, and being that things have been relatively calm since then here in North Mississippi, this is the first that we're getting to hearing of it. But it's been down since November 10th, and now Crisis 24.
It's been down the whole time.
It's been down the whole time, so about 2 weeks now, and I think it actually got information leaked of users, so kind of a big deal with that. But it's accelerated the rollout of a new Code Red by Crisis 24 platform, and is hopefully getting that going here very shortly. But yeah, they're trying to get this addressed and get it all fixed before they roll out a new platform and get that up and running. So yeah, Code Red is down for the time being. Doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon, hopefully. That's me speculating, of course. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try. I saw James and the North Mississippi Storm Chasers dropped in a link a second ago. I'm going to see if I can get my tablet here to pull that up in a moment. But that's just another reminder of why we always need to be thinking about multiple layers of protection in the case of severe weathers, to make sure that we have those layers. So we always say build your armor. So the Mississippi Live Weather app, Code Red, sounds like as having an issue right now. Or NOAA Weather Radio, a good option, as well as Weather Call. So I'll show Weather Call here in a second, but make sure to get that app if you follow us on social media, primarily alone. Appreciate that. Looking at our discussion back and forth with some of the folks there. Yeah, Weather Radio, Code Red down. Yeah, that's a surprising one to me. So hopefully they get that fixed soon. So I'll pop up Weather Call here. Reminder, again, this is that alert that will let you know if you're in the danger zone there. And so if you're basically in that box that the National Weather Service draws, that's when Code Red gives you a phone call. So it is not free, unfortunately. The app is free, but because it costs money to make phone calls, same reason we still have to pay for not just data, but a phone plan on your phone. Making phone calls costs money. There's a little cost involved in there as well. It monitors you and it'll let you know if you're in danger. It's what I have for my family. And again, I think it should be one of the layers that we all utilize. Okay, so with that in mind, we're looking toward the Oh, I know what it was. You hit it, and so now we're in this block a second ago as opposed to the commercial break. Okay, so that means the next thing should be, there we go, 10 o'clock tonight here in the Room to Room Weather Center. That's when we're going to be watching the potential for, again, some of these overnight storms and really starting to assess what tomorrow looks like as far as severe weather is concerned. We should have new information enough that we can really get a good look at that. That's coming up tonight at 10 p.m. on Mississippi Live Weather. For meteorologist Gabe Maynor and myself, keep it here for the latest, and we appreciate your support. We'll see you at 10.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
I'm your retirement fear, but don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. This is pretirement.org.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.